Hello, and welcome to Your Yes Filled Life. I'm Brenda Winkle, and this podcast is for high-performing, empathic women who are ready to stop second-guessing themselves and start trusting what they know. Maybe you're successful in your career or business. People rely on you. You make difficult decisions every day, and yet sometimes the moment someone else's emotions, expectations, or opinions enter the conversation, your own clarity starts to disappear. If you've ever wondered, how can I be so confident everywhere else in my life but struggle to trust myself when it comes to my own needs, you are in the right place. Each week, we'll explore self-trust, nervous system regulation, emotional energy, boundaries, intuition, and the everyday moments where your life changes, not because you've become someone new, but because you learn to stay connected to yourself. I'll share client stories, my own experiences, practical tools, and honest conversations to help you stop abandoning yourself and start creating a life that's truly your own. Because I believe you already know more than you trust, and that is a yes-filled life. I'm so glad you're here. Let's begin. Hello, and welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm your host, Brenda Winkle. Today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about some of the lessons that I have been learning on the dance floor in my bachata and salsa and other Latin dance classes. And this is related to you because it's related to your ability to notice your own intuition communicating with you. Because here's what I'm coming to understand. The reason that you think you don't have the intuitive access that you want sometimes, or maybe you do, but even if you do have the intuitive access that you want, what I'm going to share with you in this episode is going to give you even more intuitive access. And here's how. It's because if you're holding your frame, you're more able to respond to what's being communicated through your intuition. So here's what I mean. Anytime that you're dancing a partner dance, whether it's dance classes like I take in the Latin genre, salsa, bachata, casino rueda, cumbia, or you're doing something like country swing or nightclub two-step or even West Coast swing, if you're doing some kind of a partner dance, you're expected to hold a frame. And what the frame is, remember the movie Dirty Dancing when there was this scene between Jennifer Grey and Patrick Swayze, and she was kind of mocking him, and she was pointing to the U shape that was between her arms and her torso and his shape. And if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see what I'm talking about. This is the frame. And so there's this thing that happens where you pull your shoulders back and down, and you pull your lats down, those muscles that control your shoulder blades, and then you extend your arms. But even as you extend your arms have a little bit of tension in them. Not like gripping tension, but there's a little bit of tension there. And in that tension, it gives you the ability to feel when anything is changing as a follow. And I dance the follow part. There's a lead part, which is traditionally and but not always danced by a man. And then there's the follow part, which is traditionally but not always danced by a woman. And if the lead is giving me certain cues, if I don't have a solid frame, I can't feel them. Meaning I could be dancing with the best leader in the world and I still won't get the moves right because I don't feel them. I don't feel the cues. They might be really subtle cues. They might be like there's a circle in the palm of my hand to turn a specific direction. It might be that there's a cue that we're going to be backing up. And if I have spaghetti arms, I'm not going to feel that pressure change as my lead comes into my hand. Or maybe a direction change, or maybe I won't feel what's called a J prep, which is where the lead makes a letter J with his hands, or her hands, but most typically his hands, to signify I'm going to do a turn toward that direction. If we don't hold frame, we don't know those things are happening. And the more dancing that I do, I'm almost 4 years into this dance obsession, this current one. I mean, I've been dancing my whole life, off and on in different ways. I took ballet when I was little, and then I moved into, I think it was like contemporary dance, is what they called it. I even took tap lessons for a little bit. And then in high school, I didn't take dance lessons, but I did swing choir and we danced in swing choir. So I danced all the way through high school. And then into college, I didn't do any professional dancing. I didn't do any type of dance classes, but I got married really young to a bass player. And so then I would go along to the gigs and I would dance at the gigs, because if I was the only partner that went to the thing, then what's there to do for me besides sit at a table by myself? That's not fun. And so I would dance. And so I learned country swing and I learned a lot of other things that I don't even know what they're called, but they danced in the bars all throughout Nebraska and Wyoming, just socially. And then I kind of took a long break after my daughter was born, not because I wanted to, but just life got really, really hard at that time. And it had nothing to do with my daughter being born. It had everything to do with the support I was not receiving inside my marriage and also the abuse that was happening. And that's a story for another episode. But I just stopped dancing. And then when I was 35 and went through a divorce, I started my embodiment journey first with yoga. And then I was at a pretty good obsession with my yoga classes. I stopped going to happy hours and started going to yoga classes. In fact, my friend Cynthia and I decided that we weren't going to go to happy hours anymore. We were going to be, these were our words, we were going to be yoga whores. And we were going to go from studio to studio to studio. The same time other people went to happy hour, we were going to go to yoga. And we started at this studio, Yoga Tree of Boise. And the funny part is, we never left. We started there and we stayed there. And eventually, Cynthia went off and did different things. And I stayed at Yoga Tree of Boise until my schedule didn't allow it. But as we were at Yoga Tree of Boise, my friend Kathy, who I talk a lot about here on the podcast, and I were going to classes together. And then one year there was this thing called Yoga Fort. If you're familiar with Boise, you know about Tree Fort Music Festival. Well, Yoga Fort was part of Tree Fort, and it was like 3 full days of all different kinds of yoga, and it was right up my alley. I decided I was going to do everything because I tend to be a little bit all or nothing, and that's one of my quirks, one of my gifts slash liabilities is that I can be all or nothing. And I was all into this yoga fort. And one of the things that was there at the end of one day of yoga was ecstatic dance. And it was the first time that I had really danced since all those times I was just country dancing with the band. And it felt so good and so free. I loved it. And then I sort of just put a pin in it and didn't think too much about it again for a few more years, honestly. And then one day out of the blue, my friend Brooke invited me to a dance class in Boise called ULA, OULA, because it came from Missoula, Montana. So ULA. And ULA was this really cool dance that was hip hop themed, but it was based on the chakras. So there was chakra aligning and balancing and cleansing through the dance moves. And it's all done to popular pop music. It was so fun. I loved it. And I made that my new thing. And so I went to every ULA class I could fit into my schedule. Some weeks it was one, some weeks it was four, and it was just amazing. And then I moved to Portland. And when I moved to Portland, Beaverton specifically, I didn't have a dance community for a while because I didn't have a community of anything for a while because it was still COVID. It was 2021 and I was really missing dance, but I still had like Just Dance on the Xbox, which I played along with. And I would do dance parties in my kitchen. And And that was fun. And then I went to Bali. And I went to Bali in February of 2023. And it was for my 50th birthday. I gave myself the gift of going to Bali. I went solo and then I attended a retreat and then I had another several days solo traveling in Bali. And it was amazing. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made. I can't believe all the things that happened because of that trip, which is another podcast topic that I want to bring to you. In addition to telling you the story of how I came to travel full time in 2025, I have so much on my mind that I want to tell you. And I'm just kind of seeding some things as we really lean into this season 8 liberation theme on your yes filled life. Anyway, when I got home from Bali, I decided that one of the things I had wanted to do most in my life that I had not yet done was learn to partner dance. And specifically, I wanted to learn salsa. And so I took every bit of courage I could muster and I called a dance studio in Beaverton. And I thought I knew who I was calling. And this will make more sense in a second. And I was very scared, very nervous, felt completely like an imposter. And even though I'm a musician, I didn't know this type of dance and I had never had formal training as an adult. And anyway, just to say, it was a stretch for me. So I called the studio. I set up a trial lesson. It was like $100 or something for a 30-minute trial lesson. And I was so excited, but also really, really nervous. So nervous that when I got to the studio, I looked in the windows and it was dark. And I thought, no way. They can't be closed. They were the ones that gave me this time. This can't be right. And I'm nervous, right? And so I'm like opening up my phone and I'm looking at who I called. And then I'm looking at the studio that I'm sitting in front of in my car with the lights off and it's clearly empty. And I'm thinking, what on earth is happening? And all of a sudden it occurred to me, oh my gosh, I'm at the wrong studio. I had called Arthur Murray in Beaverton and I was sitting outside of Fred Astaire. And so I had this, oh my gosh, I'm self-sabotaging moment. And I quickly called Arthur Murray and I was like, I'm so sorry. I came to the wrong studio. I couldn't believe you were this close to my house. I didn't really look at the address. I just made a mistake and I'm 17 minutes away. And it happened to be the owner of the studio. And she said, well, we have a pretty tight schedule, so we'll need to reschedule you. We can't fit you in today because you'll be too late, but maybe you could come in tomorrow. And I was like, oh my gosh, if I don't go to this, I'm never going to go because I'm going to get scared again and then I'm going to talk myself out of it. And so I accepted the next dance lesson knowing that they were really extending grace to me because I essentially no-showed because I was so freaked out. Well, the second day came and they told me I got even more nervous on that phone call. And I was like, what do I wear? What shoes do I wear? I don't have dance shoes. And she said, just wear some flat shoes that, don't have any rubber on the bottom that are smooth. So I wore a pair of flats, like a Franco Sarda flats. And I went to my first dance lesson and I was hooked instantly. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what it was like to put my hand on the shoulder of a partner and then hold my other hand in the shoulder or in my hand of a partner. I was completely out of my depth. And I was so grateful that my partner, my teacher, was a young man named Dior and young enough that there was no mistaking that there wouldn't be a romantic connection because I betcha he's in the same generation as my daughter. I think he's probably early 20s. And anyway, he was a wonderful teacher. And I fell in love with salsa and bachata. And I danced there for almost 2 years. and I absolutely loved it. And then I went traveling full time. And when I got back traveling full time, I still had this yearning like, I'm not done learning everything I have to learn from dance. But I remembered that when I was dancing at Arthur Murray, everybody talked about this other studio. And so I just went to one of their socials and I checked it out. And it took me several months to get back enough that I trusted the studio and the teachers and so forth. And that's the studio that I joined in May as like an unlimited membership, which means I can go to dance all the time, anytime, which is exactly what I've done. And so I've gone from, dancing socially 2 to 3 nights a month to dancing 4 to 6 nights a week. And it's so much fun. And so the lessons are coming really fast. And I don't mean the dance lessons. I mean the lessons about what I'm learning about energy, about my ability to trust, about my ability to allow myself to be held, about my ability to hold my frame. And as I've gotten better and stronger at holding my frame, there is something absolutely incredible that has begun to happen, specifically inside salsa and bachata, because I'm not taking the other ballroom styles right now at all. It's only Latin. And so I have good frame because of my years of private lessons. And the good frame means I have, an open chest, a lifted chest, and I have some tension in my arms to be able to feel the lead. And there were 2 lessons that happened last week, and I'm not talking about on the dance floor. They were outside of the dance floor that happened. And one of them was on a specific dance class that I had gone to. It was a salsa class, a salsa bachata combo. And there was this move that we were doing that had the lead facing away from us. So we were at the back of our lead, and the lead would take our right hand over his left shoulder, our left hand over his right shoulder, and then there was some spinning to get situated again so that the hands were on the right sides and we were facing each other. And as we were doing this move, the other teacher, there's 2 teachers in each class. There's one that highlights the leads part and one that highlights the follow part. And the follow teacher was saying, "Oh, I see what's happening here, follows. Your arms are so tense that you're kind of punching your lead. No wonder they can't get this move because you're so tight. You're holding on so tightly they can't flip the hands over their head." And I was really struck by it because there's a balance between holding tension so that you can feel what's happening and being tense. There's a really fine line here. And if you're tense, you're not allowing any movement to happen. And even if the lead is doing an excellent job leading you, if there's not some flow happening, you can't move. So here's the trick. I went home from that dance class and I was trying to get in the energy of being a follow. I mean, really get in the energy of holding my frame and being a follow. And 2 different times, I turned off on roads, I don't know, on my way home from dance class that I go to 4 to 6 times a week. And I was stunned. And it felt so like natural, so much like I was just being guided. And I had the awareness from my spirit guides, this is what it's supposed to feel like. When you're guided, you're just open, you're just flowing, and you can just move in the way that you're being guided. You still have free choice. You can still stylize it. You can still move in ways that feel good, but you also can hold enough frame that you can be led without being tense, which leads me to the second thing. So the next day I went back to dance class again, and I was talking to one of the partners who was in that more advanced class with me. And I was saying, hey, I'm working on my arms. I know that I have good frame. but I'm concerned that I have too much tension in my arms for that specific move. And it just makes me curious how it's impacting other things that I'm doing. And he's like, okay, I have something I want to try. This is what one of the other teachers told me. He's like, lock down your lats. And so I did. And then we just did a quick spin. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have been trying to hold my entire frame from my arms and from my shoulders, not using my actual frame, which is to say, if you're not receiving the right support, even if you're holding your frame, it feels like efforting. And that's what causes the extra tension. You have to have the right support. So in this case, very literally, I needed more support from my back, from my shoulder blades, locking down those lats to really lock in the frame. Not lock, that's probably not the right word, but you get the point. Here's the thing. If you don't have the right support, even if you're holding your frame, it's very difficult for you to receive what's coming to you because you're pushing it away with the tension and tightness that you have. Because without the right support, you're using muscles that are really trying to hold you up and you're not utilizing the whole actual frame. So here's an example. If you are trying to get through this life alone and you're not receiving support and you're signing up for challenges, but you're not doing the work, and you're signing up for more podcasts and you're buying courses, but you're never opening them, they land in the course graveyard on your desktop. That's not support. That's the equivalent of muscling everything from your arms. Okay. Now there's another flip side of this. What happens if you have spaghetti arms? Spaghetti arms is what we call it in dance class when the follow is just like all loosey goosey. If you have spaghetti arms and if a follow pushes on your arm moves back. You don't move back. Just your arm moves back. Now there's a couple problems here. One is you can get injured that way because your shoulder will end up being pushed into a position that's not natural or comfortable. But the second thing is if you have spaghetti arms and you're not holding any tension, you cannot feel where you're being guided to go. You can't feel it. And at a certain point, your lead is going to stop trying to do more complex moves with you because your lead's going to know you're not able to feel and sense when anything's coming. So you'll just do the basic step, which is fine. It's not bad. That's not a bad thing. But do we want to live just doing the basic step? Or do you want there to be some turns? Do you want there to be some variety, some variation? Because if you do, you're going to need to create a little bit of tension in your frame, not tenseness. There's a balance here, right? Now, if you go through life like you have spaghetti arms, you are affected by every single thing that happens to you. If you're spaghetti arming your life, you're affected by what your partner is doing, what's happening in your house, what's happening with your sister or your friend or your friend's friends. That's spaghetti arming. Now, when you add a little bit of tension into the arms, not tenseness, tension into the arms, what happens is you're no longer as affected because you're solid in your own frame. You're solid in your own energy. Now, if you're not solid in your own energy, one text can change your entire day because it ruins your mood. One client's opinion will change your confidence. One Instagram post will put you into comparison. One family comment will make you decide maybe this isn't for you. And we think that it's everyone else's fault when you have spaghetti arms. Honestly, that's what we all think. I've thought that when I was on the dance floor with spaghetti arms, and I've thought that in my life with spaghetti arms. And if you're in any type of blame, it's their fault. If they would only, you have spaghetti arms. So, invitation to claim your own power and hold your frame. So, here's an example. The other day, I was dancing on the dance floor with one of the more advanced dancers. He's in another level advanced beyond me, at least, maybe more. And I thought that the song was ending. And I thought we were done dancing. Mostly because at that time I was at my 3 hour mark, and there's something that happens for me at that 3 hour mark where I'm just like tired. I'm not as sharp in my movements or in my body. And sometimes I'm just not as on it. And I sort of felt like, okay, I think I need to go home. But my partner wasn't done dancing. And because I let go of my frame, I didn't know it because I let go of my frame. And so there was something that happened, and I felt him beginning to take my arm up. And as soon as I felt it, I was like, oh, we're not done. I reconnected my frame. And then he felt that and he thought he hurt me. And he was like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay? Is your shoulder okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm totally fine." I lost frame for a second because I thought we were done anyway. And then I retightened and he's like, "Yeah, we got to protect your shoulder. You got to hold that frame." And I was like, "Yes, I know," because I let go of the frame. Now, ways that this can happen in our actual life are when, example, this is real life story from this week. You know, the blind, have I talked to you about the blind? Because I know I've shared it inside Power and inside the Empowered Empath Collective, but I broke my blind inside my bedroom. Now, I have a third floor bedroom, so it's not the end of the world, but it's also not great to not have a blind on your window. And as luck would have it, I happen to have some really beautiful curtains that are kind of sheer to be able to cover the window enough. And then I was just changing in the bathroom, and then I would use an eye mask to sleep, and it worked out okay. Well, in the meantime, when my first blind broke, my landlord, I'm a very happy renter at this point, my landlord was getting new Levelor blinds built and custom cut for the window. And it took a very long time, like a month. So I was delighted when I got these brand new blinds. They're like the cellular blinds that can go up or down. And I was I woke up that morning and there was a huge thunderstorm, which is very unusual for Portland. And I decided I wanted to lower the blind down to be able to just watch it, but not have anyone be able to see in, or I didn't want to see anybody, and I didn't want Bentley to see any dogs walking around. So I lowered it halfway so we could kind of see what was happening in the sky. Got ready, got ready to raise the blind all the way up, got the blind closed, and then I was literally shocked when the whole blind came down, hit me in the chin, and I caught it in my arms. Like the whole blind just landed in my arm. Like, a 4 foot, maybe 5 foot blind. It's not that it's that heavy, but it was shocking and metal, and my chin is still a little bruised. You can probably see it. Anyway, if I had spaghetti arms, that would have ruined my day. It might have ruined my whole week. But I don't have spaghetti arms in my life because I have a very solid practice. I do what I teach. So I use my daily checklist. I have the power framework operating in the background of my life every day. And I've been doing it long enough that it's just part of what I do. So I had all the supports in place so that when it happened and the blind hit my face and fell off the wall, I was just like, ow, okay, what am I supposed to learn from this? And boom, the lesson came fast. And the lesson was I was thinking literally the day before about making some changes in my living situation. And I have a natural wanderlust. And I was just thinking about where would I like to go What did I want my life to be like? And then I thought, and I couldn't believe I thought this, but I actually thought this, but I really like this new blind in my window. I really like it. Like I've never had a blind that goes up and down. This is very cool. Maybe I should just stay here long enough to, really feel like what it's like to live with a blind that goes up and down. I know, I know, I know. That's ridiculous, but that's literally what I was thinking about. So I always joke that my spirit guides will hit me upside the head if I don't get the message in a timely way. And so when the blind hit me in the face, in the head, I was like, oh, there's a lesson here. And as soon as I looked for what was the lesson, I heard very clearly, you can put blinds up anywhere. I was like, oh, yeah, you totally can. You can put blinds up anywhere. So maybe I don't make housing decisions based on one blind that, by the way, is now in my arms. So back to the part that would have given me spaghetti arms. If I would not have had a solid framework in place, I could have stayed stuck in, I can't believe this new blind fell off. These people didn't install it correctly. How could they? What does this mean? Now they should owe me. I'm bruised on my chin. I'm hurt. I could have carried that through my whole day, but I didn't because I don't have spaghetti arms in my life. Instead, I was like, ow, put some ice on it. Now, what can I learn? That's the same thing on the dance floor. Hold your frame and then figure out where you're being guided. Okay. So, here's the other thing that I really want to make sure we talk about inside this episode where we're talking about the things that we're learning in the dance floor. And this is really, really important. There's a certain phase that we go through in our development when we become aware of energy, most of us. And if you're listening to this podcast, probably you're somewhere on that continuum where you are either energy curious or you're an energy worker or you have energy work done or you are a breath work facilitator or you use your own breath work or you're Reiki certified or you get Reiki or you're a card reader, something that leads you to these energetic, intuitive, spiritual spaces. The phase of development that I see people get stuck in, and boy, they can stay stuck for a long time. I know I did, is this healing phase of I'm just not healed enough yet. And it looks a lot of different ways. It can look like I need more certifications, I need more practice, I need to also solve this issue and this issue and this issue and this issue. Like we're going to solve hunger, we're going to solve the immigrant problem from the lens of let's get rid of ICE. We're going to be anti-racist and we're going to help sex trafficked women. And we have to do all these things before we can do the work in our own business. And in the meantime, the action that I'm going to take is I'm going to work on my energy. Okay, well, you need to work on your energy. Energy is everything. But here's the problem. You can work on your energy all day, every day. And if you don't take action, nothing will actually change in the physical world. You are here as a human being. You're a human being, and you're not a spiritual being. You're a spiritual being in a human body. Does that make sense? So, what I mean by that is if you think that you can sit on your meditation pillow and have everything arrive at your front door, you're not correct. The whole point of doing this work is for you to get out and take the action. As you're meditating, you're getting ideas. As you're working on your energy, you're getting these intuitive nudges on, oh, I should call this person. Oh, I should send this email. Oh, I should create this post. Oh, I should gather these people. If you don't do those things, I don't care how good your energy is, nothing's going to work. Nothing will change for you if it's energy alone. I heard it once said, God feeds the birds, but he doesn't throw it in the nest. So if you're in the phase of energy work and healing journey where you think it's just energy and you're not actually doing any of the work, the action, you're doing the things, it will not happen for you. And the same thing is true on the dance floor. If I don't learn my basic steps, if I don't learn my footwork, if I don't know what a right turn means, if I don't know what a broken left turn means, I won't be able to do those things. And it won't matter how good my lead is, I still won't be able to follow. Even if I know and I have the right energy, like I come to the dance floor with all the right energy, if I don't take the action to learn the steps, to learn the footwork, it won't matter. So, where in your life are you wanting it to arrive at your front door? Gosh, that'd be nice. I would really like that. Like, specifically, one of the things that I'm currently working on is my relationship to love and partnership. I would really like it if I could be sitting on my front yard and then my ideal divine partner like walks across the street and boom, there's my divine counterpart. I would love that. But I also know that I'm going to have to leave my house to find him, which is part of the reason I'm experimenting with my relationship with being in proximity to men and women in my partner dance because I'm experimenting with that masculine feminine flow. I'm doing something about my desire for partnership. I'm not just in the desire, I'm not just in the energy of it. And this is one place where I'm really seeing people get stuck. And I'm seeing it happen, and it's all over the internet. It's all over the coaching spaces where people are like, well, it's just your energy. Just like fix your energy. Yeah, that's not going to do it. And that, by the way, is gaslighting. It's absolute gaslighting. It's telling you that you can just sit and get your energy good enough, and then all your problems will be solved. And then what's happening in the coaching spaces, ask me how I know, what's happening in the coaching spaces is that then they'll tell you, well, the reason that the thing that you bought the coaching for didn't work is because it's your energy. And then they blame you. This has happened to me, not a lot of times, but twice that were really, really big times. And I just want you to know that you have to take some action. You're going to have to go do stuff. And it's not all going to be stuff you like. It's not all going to be stuff that you want to do. It's not all going to be stuff that feels great doing it because some of it might feel really challenging. Some of the things that you're going to be asked to do on these spiritual journeys are going to be things that are bringing you right up against your edges. And then you're going to do them and you're going to feel like, whoa, that was awesome. But you got to get out there and you got to do it. So, where in your life are you waiting for something to arrive instead of allowing yourself to take the next step? It doesn't have to be every step on the same day. We're not talking about hustling here. Definitely not telling you to do that. That's not at all what I'm saying, but I am saying you're going to have to put in some work. You're going to have to take some action. And you're not going to be able to wait till you have it perfect. And you're not going to be able to wait till you're healed enough. That is the spiritual equivalent of, I'll be worthy of love when I lose 20 pounds. That's bullshit. You're worthy of love right now. The same way you're worthy of whatever desire you have on your heart right now. Nothing needs to change. So, invitation to think about where in your life can you take one imperfect action. Just one imperfect action. The first time I went to a dance class, I went to the wrong studio. and it still worked out? Where can you take one imperfect action? Are you going to get it right every time? No, neither am I. You might not even get it right half the time, but you know what? Over time, you will because you'll practice. That's a huge part of the reason why the Power program is designed to be a year-long program where you come in through many cohorts and you have a chance to practice. We need to practice these skills the same way we would drill footwork in dance class because it's only through that repetition that we create a muscle memory of, oh, this is how I do it. Oh, this is how I do it. Oh, this is how I do it. And then the next thing you know, you're not really thinking about it. You're just doing it. Holding your frame in your life is not about being rigid. It's not about being controlling or inflexible or tense, but it is about rooting into the energy of you. How can you root more deeply into the energy of you so that you can respond to the intuitive nudges that are coming through, to the guidance that's coming through, and then you get to choose, as any follow on the dance floor will tell you, you get to choose whether or not you're going to do the move. You still get to choose. You don't have to do anything. So as you root more deeply into who you are, you'll find yourself more able to weather when somebody disagrees. You'll be fine. When life changes, you'll be fine. When you're able to show up more fully, you'll be fine. When you're more visible, you'll be fine because you're rinsing and repeating, staying connected to you, holding your frame. And as you hold your frame, you're going to find yourself more able to receive guidance, abundance in all forms, and feedback. It's really, really magical. And I've really been leaning into my own capacity to receive abundance over the past 4 years, really. And I'm learning where I have resistance to abundance and where I have openness and receptivity to abundance. And so I've been really studying my own flows. And I've been observing clients too, because abundance, we think about abundance oftentimes as money or wealth or prosperity. And of course that is, but abundance is also an abundance of health, an abundance of connection, an abundance of love, an abundance of feeling peace, of fulfillment, of fun, of joy. Abundance in all the forms. Think about an abundance of leaves on the trees or abundance of petals on the flowers. Abundance is every place around us. But if we're not holding our frame, it's hard for us to see. And if it's hard for us to see all the abundance around us, sometimes we can get into negative thought loops where we're not able to see the abundance around us, which actually blocks other forms of abundance from coming in. And that's why I created the LionsGatePortal Activate Your Abundance event, because I want to create this space where we can really learn to hold our own frame, where we can stay in that energetic sovereignty of ourselves to be able to get the next step guidance. This is going to be a space for you to reconnect with yourself, to ground your energy, regulate your nervous system, and listen for those quiet nudges. You'll learn how to more deeply hold your own frame without being rigid or trying to control outcomes so that you can intentionally open yourself to what's ready to emerge for your life next. And then just a few days later, we're going to have the new moon and the eclipse on August 12th. So if that calls to you, invitation to come join me on the 8th and really set the stage for you to be able to do whatever is next for you moving into that eclipse window, because the eclipses, there's 2 eclipses in the fall, and that eclipse window is beautiful, beautiful transformation possible We don't necessarily recommend that you manifest in eclipses because the energy can be chaotic, but that's another story. So if you're interested, I'm going to put the link in the show notes. Come join us. It's $88 per person, and we'll be live for about 2 hours on Saturday, August 8th. And if you're navigating a really significant season, whether that's a big decision, a leadership transition, a life change, a relationship, a business pivot, or your business is changing and evolving and you want to dive into some of the energetics around it, or you're just longing to trust yourself more deeply, private coaching might be a good next step for you. And in this private coaching, my role is not to tell you what to do, it's to teach you to hold frame so that you can learn to more fully trust yourself, so that you can hear yourself clearly and move forward with confidence. And I'm accepting 2 new one-on-one clients in August of 2026. I intentionally keep my private coaching clients that practice small so that I can give the attention and time that they deserve. So I'll put the link there in the show notes, and or you can go to brendawinkle.com/coaching for information and the application. And I'm going to leave you with this question. Where in your life have you been living with spaghetti arms, where you're allowing everything that happens to move you in a way that feels like it's chaotic and it feels like it's all happening to you? And where in your life are you living with rigidness that's not supported in a way that makes it really easy for you to respond to the intuitive nudges? And what would change if instead of looking outside of yourself for stability, you practiced holding your own frame? If this was helpful for you, invitation to please share it with someone you care about. And if you haven't yet left the podcast a rating and review wherever you're listening, that would mean so much. This podcast is not free to produce. It is not free to host and to share. And so it would mean so much if you would, in the spirit of reciprocity, give the podcast a rating and review wherever you're listening. In the next coming weeks, we've got some really exciting things happening. Stay tuned for the interview with Judith Orloff, the godmother of the Empath movement. That will be coming up in the early fall. And I have some clients coming on to talk to you, to share about their experiences. You're going to get to hear some really different, diverse perspectives of different kinds of work that clients do in the world, which is really fun. And I have some other guests coming on. So be sure that you're subscribed wherever you're listening so you don't miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. Bye for now.